Shalom. Blessings to you and yours. Welcome to the message of Yahu. I am your host for today, Uzul Yahu, a voice crying in the wilderness. I was recently, let me start by saying this. Today marks the first month since my wife Mary succumbed to cancer, and ovarian cancer to be exact. And we've spent, I might be repeating myself in some of this, adjusting to the varied emotions of having suffered or encountered this loss. So bear with me, if you will. I'm mindful of one of the nurses who sat with my wife here at home. And let me say this before I get into that part of it. My wife was sent home by the hospital. They identified a mass they say she had, and so they talked about doing surgery, but they told us that she, along with dementia, her heart was weak, and she had lost a bit of weight. And then there was the possibility that she would not survive the surgery. So we thought that was not the practical approach. And so they qualified the mass, but but without identity. And so it was hospice who was the one who gave the label to the cancer ovarian that my wife had. And so, again, she was sent home. We were in denial at that time, saying that they had not done what they could have. But anyway, their experience with situations as such let them know what was taking place. And the doctors couldn't tell us because of their Hippocratic oath, as it is called. Nevertheless, she came home to die. She looked fit at that time, but with rapidity, it was the enemy who had already invaded her body, the enemy being the cancer. It invaded her body, but in the 2 weeks that she was home before her death, it seemed that there was a vengeance, viciousness, such aggression, if you will, that was inflicted upon her body as though there was anger. There was anger in the elements, and one of my sons had told me a few months ago, even before the death of my wife, their mother, that the enemy would be attacking our family. And I'm persuaded to believe that has a considerable amount of measure or truth to it, because straight and narrow is the way, and few there be that find it. I'm persuaded to believe that we, my family and I, are among that few. Why? It's all because of his name. You shall be hated for my name's sake. So the enemy hates that name because he knows, they know that it is the power, the authority the ultimate, if you will, and they're opposed to that. But nevertheless, my wife eventually succumbed to the cancer, and I'm told that this process of grief gets better with each passing day. We're having to wait on that. But my son also said to me that among women today, it's difficult to find that one because of the misplacement of values. They go in with their expectations and wanting to try to be in control will give a man a space of time and an ultimatum to meet their projection, and if not, then the marriage is terminated. Wrong approach, wrong information. Mary and I had discussed some time before, even years before her passing, that most people who marry today marry for all the wrong reasons. And it's evident with the epidemic of divorce in the environment out there. Most people don't enter into marriage for longevity. It's just that they want to try to be in control, and that's why the marriages don't last. But even so, Mary and I loved each other. We truly loved each other. So much so that sometimes the thought pattern could be verbalized at the same time, the same moment. And one of our sons would say, "Yes, you all are married." And that's the way it was between us. But before she passed away, one of the nurses was by here one day, and the nurse asked me to sing to my wife. And so in her demising, I stood by her bedside and I sang, "Thanks for the times that you've given me. The memories are all in my mind. And if I had to live my life over again, I'd spend each and every moment with you. 'Cause you're once, twice, 3 times a lady, and I love you. Yes, you're once, twice, 3 times a lady, and oh, I love you. I love you." And after I had sang that to my wife, there seemed to have been a slight smile upon her face. Maybe because the smile was what I wanted to see, and maybe not, I don't know. And that song was a choice because I had wondered recently, who was this lady that was being honored and celebrated in that song. So I did a little bit of inquiry and learned that Lionel Richie's parents were celebrating 37 years of marriage. And his dad was honoring his wife, Lionel's mother, and giving description of her. And there was 3 parts in the description I don't recall at this moment. Nevertheless, she was a mother, a wife, and what have you. And so out of that came the inspiration of Lionel for 3 times a lady. Mary, to me, she was that and some more. She was so much to me. Not only was she a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, aunt, friend to many. She was so much in one, if you will. But once again, I'm told that time shall melt away her wings ere we shall discover in a constant time, in an ancient time, such a constant lover. And it's so unsavory that my sons are having to look at relationships for what they are today. A number of women are afraid to approach such intimacies because men have the capacity to be not only verbal abusive, but physical as well, and also psychological. Some are just afraid to go that distance. And then, on the other hand, you have men who are equally afraid. So both sides choose not to get married. Some are confused. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to believe. Some, as a result of the environment there, choose alternative lifestyles, which are not progressive or productive as well, because they work a work that is not conducive to the outline of marriage. Some men choose to try to, what I call, muscle their way into having a woman or wife to be subjected to them. But that's the wrong approach. Some will even try to use the written word to try to justify their aggression. Let me cite one of them in particular anyway, maybe 2. Wherein, in the garden, the Elohim, the Almighty, whose name is Yahweh, he said to Kavar, Eve, as her name was translated, he said to her, your desire shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. That is oftentimes taken out of context, with a carnal mind trying to infuse spirit into the mind and not having the capacity, the power, or the will to do it. It can only be done and or accomplished by and through the true Savior, whose name is Yahushua. Only He can accomplish that in us. And so, to be dominant is a misguiding word. And how do we know? Because what we do is to take a look at the Father. Remember now, He says to Yasharul, His chosen, I'm married to you. So we study Him and His position of being husband to His bride. We study Him. And we don't see anywhere where He was cursing her, using negative psychological strategies to bring her under subjection. No, He did none of that. Didn't slap her around. No, He didn't do that. What He did do was state His position and move on. Get on with the business at hand. And so we have in our presence a situation of failure, continued failure, if you will, failing to fulfill the not only responsibility, but the obligation of being a wife to our eternal Father, to be a husband to our living spouses, even to be parents. And you know, that's one thing that really, really bothers me. And that is, and listen, we're not into this gender battle thing. It's in my opinion, it's wasted time, because positions and authority was given thousands of years ago. So it's just a matter of, do we want to? I had an elderly neighbor. He said to me some years ago, he died as well. But in one of our many conversations, he told me that he was encountered by a religious person on one occasion, and that person asked him, do you think a man can live without sin? He said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you want to live without sin? And so we need to ask the question, sir, do you want to be a husband? Ma'am, do you want to be a wife? Sir, ma'am, do you want to be parents? Now, the big question, do you know how to be what you want to be and or need to be? And I think if the majority of us would be honest, we would truthfully say, I want to be, but I don't know how. Again, I ask the question, sir, how do you know how to be a man? Ma'am, how do you know how to be a woman? Mr., Mrs., Miss, how do you know how to be parents? Again, we can only know through the one who created the institution. And it's a very, very sad commentary, my friends. Again, not in the gender battle thing, but that a woman would choose to bring children into the world and be dishonest, deceitful, and oftentimes destructive to her husband, destroying the children, again, simply because she wants to be in control. And oh, men don't get off easy. You cannot beat a woman into submission. You cannot kill a woman into submission. What you do is follow the prescription wherein we are commanded, let the husband counsel the wife, and let the wife counsel the husband. That being true, then it's necessary for both parties to be in the place that postures and position them to be what was intended to be. And what are we intended, or what is intended for us? Well, look at the sun and its rays and how it lights up and makes the day, the daylight. Look at it. And the moon, when it casts its beauty at night, look at how it glows. Who gets the honor from both of them? Well, there's only one, my friends. Easy question. Easy answer. Only one gets the exaltation from that. And I hope that somewhere in the reserves of your minds, especially you young people, in that you're inheriting a mess that our generation and the generation before them have left for you. I'm prayerful. I'm hopeful that you can find place and space in your mind that, no, you don't want to leave your mind accessible for someone to do exploits to try to satisfy, gratify self and be in control. No, you don't want to do that, definitely. But take a walk into your mind and allow the spirit of the Elohim to intervene so that he can give you what you want. It's not good for one to be alone, so that he can give you what you need. That's what it's about, him giving you what you need. And my friends, if and or when you should do that, then you too can resonate Lionel Richie's song, "Oh, this woman I got, she's 3 times a lady, and I love her." That's my prayer for you, my friends. This has been your host for today, Uzul Yahu, bidding you peace. In the only true name of salvation, Yahushua the Savior. And may his peace be upon you. And please, my friends, please subscribe.